I welcome you to where I find my ships, and today we got something awesome. We're going to be turning the legendary, humongous Shroudbearer, one of the coolest looking legendary ships in Starfield, into our daily home ship, flying it across the universe, landing in unforgivable planets. Now, if you don't know what legendary ships or where to find them or what the Shroudbearer is, I have a video devoted on how to find them and another video specifically going through the Shroudbearer components and parts. So definitely check those out. Links will be in the description. You can click on the right hand corner right now to have a look at some of these videos. But if you want to fly the Shroudbearer on a daily basis, getting all the ladies' attention because you have a big ship, you know what they say about a guy with a big ship? I don't know. You tell me. I've just got a big ship. But in any case, we're going to need some mods to do all this. We're going to cover that right at the end, as well as some tips on how to find it. We'll cover that in less detail because we do have another video on that. And importantly, how to get it into your inventory, because you'll need to do that to be able to get this working, because you cannot spawn these legendary vessels with too much ease. I haven't had any luck. Others said they have. Let me know if you can just spawn it and if you had success doing that, because that would make this process so much quicker. Otherwise, we have to do the traditional go and find it yourself kind of thing, which when you understand how, definitely improves your odds. And the most important focus of this video is we're going to go through and reconfigure this ship so we can fly it, because we need to do a few things. It can be a little bit tedious and annoying little process, but it's worthwhile in the end. But we're going to get rid of all the errors. We'll be causing havoc in the universe of Starfield in no time. Now, first thing is first. I'm doing this purely just to get rid of the errors, get to the end state of flying this and have it as a home ship as quick as possible. Which means there's a ton of things I could probably have done differently, better, more efficient. If you've got the time, you can spend ages really mucking around with this and improving on this legendary vessel to your heart's content. But for this video, we're just smashing through it so we can fly the bloody thing. And I'll give you all the tips and everything you need to know to be able to do that. Okay, let's get started. So you've completed the steps at the end of the video. Get the Shroudbearer into your inventory, and this holy grail of ship will appear with 6 or more errors, and our first boss will be trying to clear these error messages. So when we look at these areas, we've got unattached modules, probably the most painful one. We'll come back to that. Multiple dockers, missing landing bay, invalid dockers, cannot reach cockpit from docker. So looking at this, a really good place to start is just to clear the docker issues, because that will get rid of about 2 or 3 of these different errors. So what we need to do is go around the Shroudbearer, remove those dockers. So there's 1 or 2 on each side from memory. So that's where you'd start. Just remove those dockers. And by removing those dockers, we go from 6 errors to 3. So that's a great start, which will leave us with unattached modules, ship is missing docker, and ship is missing landing bay. So this is the guts of it, because this is where we have to kind of heavily modify the ship internal structure in order, one, be able to access the cockpit, because the unfortunate thing is all these class M modules, they're empty. There's nothing in them. You can't enter them. They're just sort of like placeholders. So think of it, when you clip through a wall, you expect to see another room or something. Well, with these, you just clip through them and there's nothing. We need to fill them with proper components that actually have internal structures, just like all the other modules we use to build our class A, B, C ships. Okay, so how are we going to do this? So with the Shroudbearer, it is a bit easier than some of the other ones because of how it's set up with its cockpit at the front, which makes this a bit easier. And this is where your path of doing this might vary differently, because there's so many ways to go about this. But we're just going to basically look to gut right under the cockpit, and we're just going to fill it with some 3x3 cargo holes. You can use anything that you want. It doesn't have to be this, but this is just the easiest ones we're going to use. So we're just going to stack a fair few of those on, and then we're going to attach the docker just to the bottom of this. And then we're going to sort of muck around trying to fit this into the Shroudbearer where we've gutted it, which is all the big class M components under the cockpit. We'll sort of slide those in there. And then once we've done that, we can build a few extra more on the bottom. We'll need to add some landing gear, mainly because we want the ship to sit on top of the surface. If you don't do that, I'm pretty sure it will just sit clipped into the ground. It means you can't enter it normally. But if we add landing gear, we can actually access this just like any other ship. So in order to do that, we need to make sure that the dockers and the landing gear is at the lowest point of the vessel, which means we have to build a few extra of these 3x3s in order to clear the cool looking pipes down the bottom. I want to keep those. You could delete them to clear 1 extra level, but I'm going to keep them. So I'll build a few extra more 3x3s. And then I'm just going to try attach the hub. Now, I don't know if you have much experience with moving around these huge ships in the shipbuilder, but it isn't the nicest and friendliest. It can be quite performance heavy. So keep that in mind. If you're having a hard time, try lower your settings. that may help. And hopefully with this new patch, we'll get a much better stability from the graphics side of things, at least for PC, which is good. Okay, so next thing we got to do is we're just going to try clear these last few errors. So we put in all that internal structure and we've still got these 3 errors, which is the ship unattached, missing the docker, and the landing bay needs to be connected to the cockpit. So haven't done it correctly, so we're just going to rejig this around a little bit, and it's just changing the cockpit so it sits flat onto these bays. Now again, if you do use different habitation modules, you probably can just sit it on top like normal, but I didn't. I wasn't going to go back and fiddle around with it. So now we've only got 2 errors to get rid of, which is awesome, but also some of the more tricky ones to fix. So for me, I decided to add some landing gear next. I just added the NG20 landing gear wide. Now you could get away with just throwing 1 on if you really wanted to, but just throwing a few extra. When I get a bit more time, I'll probably actually balance this out a lot better and build it so it makes much more sense from a landing gear perspective. But for the purpose of this video, I just threw a few on just so it sits above that surface. Okay, so the next problem and the biggest problem is where to put the docker, because we need the docker coming from real components. It can't come from any of the Class M components. So my theory was I was going to stick it at the very front. Now you could just stack a bunch of the 3x3s on top of each other so it's the tallest point on the ship, but it would look kind of ridiculous. So I wanted it to try keep that front looking very similar. So with the lots of mucking around, what I ended up doing, which took quite a while to figure out, the 2 pointy Class M modules at the front, they don't attach to the Class C bits. At least I didn't have any luck doing that. So I had to set a big Class M 6x3x3 under the cockpit, and under that I was going to run the normal 3x3 and just have it sticking out so then I could attach the docker. So this is sort of what it'll look like. So you'll have the cockpit Class M pointy bit, whatever it's called. Then you'll have the Class M 6x3x3, and then under that we'll have the normal 3x3, which we can attach a docker to, which is attached to the main part of the ship, so we can pass this error. Now the only unfortunate thing about doing it this way is that I wasn't able to get the bottom part of the ship actually attached, so I just left it. So at least we could get the top looking like the Shroudbearer, which was important. But yeah, the bottom I wasn't too worried about for the purpose of this video. Again, you could do this differently and get it looking very schmick. So with all that done, we can attach the docker at the front, and then we're just left with the most annoying, stupid bloody error where it says modules are not attached. So there's a couple things here. There is a mod that lets you save unfinished ships, which would probably just bypass this whole process, but I haven't been able to get it working because you'd be able to save it with all these unattached modules. Even though they looked attached, the game doesn't recognize them to be. You got to fiddle around with it. So there is a mod that will potentially bypass this step. I'll add that at the end of the video. So you could try that. Let me know if it works for you, or if you can skip the unattached modules with that mod, because that'd be awesome if it does. But for me, it's not working, so I had to do it manually. This is a painful process because what we have to do here, we have to find all the components that aren't attached correctly, duplicate them, and then I'd reattach them to the ship and delete the old parts. That's the only way I know of that you can make these modules connect and actually clear this error. But just before we go into that process, I forgot to mention, we do need to change out the reactor. And the reason we need to do this is because the Class M reactors can cause a lot of issues. But if you also want to make this your home ship and fly it around like your daily, the most critical step is actually changing out the reactor to Class Cs. Now with mods, you can add multiple Class C reactors. So that's what I'm doing. I'm adding 2 or 3. So for this, I just simply deleted the really cool looking reactor, left the pipes as they are, and then threw in some reactors at the top here. And to get those reactors attached properly, I had to replace the Class M 3x3x3 by duplicating it, deleting the old one, and throwing in a new one. And so for this next part, I'm just going to do a little bit of a time lapse of just replacing all the components and parts, clear this last error, just so you have a good idea of what it will take. Now there's probably much better ways to do this. If there are, let me know. I haven't spent enough time mastering shipbuilding, so definitely pass on that knowledge. So here we go. Let's go through the time lapse of replacing all the different components that aren't attached. Now the keynotes before we get into this is that obviously double clicking on a component will highlight all the connected components to it, which makes it easier to identify what is attached and what isn't. And using that as a guide, we can just keep checking what needs to be duplicated, deleted, and attached, making it a bit easier. Let's go through this. Yes, and the other thing I forgot to mention is that I do end up deleting a few components just so I can do a proof of concept for this video and show you how to do it. But otherwise, again, it's just using that same process mentioned previously. And then finally, with all those little parts removed or reattached, we get the warnings, which means we're good to go. Now, this is where you can muck around, add some extra weapons. I just duplicated the weapon that was on there and I added a shield. I also added additional engines at the back just to make it quicker and give it more mobility. And those were just some quick changes, but again, spend heaps of time, you can make this amazing. So with all that said and done, let's go see what it's like once you've actually cleared all these errors. You've got rid of the Class M reactor and it basically becomes a Class C ship, but with the body of a Class M. But the cool thing is you make it your home ship and it actually appears like it normally would, which is mad because we can walk up to it and enter in the cockpit just like normal. And this is good because we've got the cockpit at the front there so we can just jump in nice and easy. Now, I definitely don't recommend trying to find the cockpit yourself, just quick travel. Otherwise, it just takes forever. I built it in a dodgy way so, you know, you just get lost in a maze. As always, everything looks the same. It's almost a game in itself. But once you've made it to the cockpit, you'll be able to fly it just like normal, which is awesome. It's so much fun and you can get it with 100 mobility. You can stack tons of weapons on it if you want. I kind of had fun having these shitty weapons on it because it took a lot longer to take out enemy ships, get some good footage. But yeah, you can go crazy. It's really up to you. Okay, so we'll quickly go through mods that you'll need. I'll put them all in the description so it'll just be easy to go there and click on the links and go through the download process. Now, I highly suggest using Mod Organizer 2. If you're using Vortex, bite the bullet, jump over to Mod Organizer 2. It handles plugins a lot better. It's just a much better and easy experience. Now, the install is all very simple for these mods if you just follow the instructions within the mod themselves. If you have any problems, you can reach out or check on the posts within the mods. They'll have all the details. People run into the same problems. So in no particular order, I've got the bigger ship size limit, the ultimate shipyards unlocked, and then you just want to make sure you have all the no engine power limits, the no grav drive, and so on and so forth. They'll be in the description because there's a few of those. Going back to the ultimate shipyard unlocked, this will allow you to access all the ship modules from all the shipyards, in addition to be able to purchase M-class ship modules. Now, the other one I mentioned was the Saved Unfinished Ships. This one didn't work for me. It might work for you, worth checking out. If it does, let me know if it works for you. This could save you a ton of time by not having to remove and attach all the pieces. Let me know how you go. And next, I'm just going to chop in a bit from some of the other videos on some tips on how to find the Shroudbearer or legendary ships in general, and as well as the process and steps you need to complete in order to add it to your inventory. Once you find it, the applicable commands will be in the description. So I'll say goodbye for now. That will be everything covered, and hope you got something out of this. Please consider liking, subscribing. Really appreciate it. Appreciate you. Peace out till next time. Oh, and we'll probably do this for each of the legendary ships. If you think that's a good idea, let me know. Peace. Moving on to some of the tips to find them. There's no for sure way in finding these vessels. They're very rare and happen at random, but make sure you visit all the black ship icons as these can turn into legendary encounters. So for example, I found the Shroudbearer in the Serpentis system, which is pretty cool because that's probably the system you think you would find it. The reason you want to go to these ship icons is that they do turn into these legendary events. It is much rarer, but that's how you'll find it. Now, I don't know if you can use a save and reload trick on one ship icon, try to see if you get different results. I did test it very briefly, and each time I got the exact same sort of event. So I don't think you can do that. I think it's determined as soon as it appears. Do let me know if that's not correct. And you can find these ship encounters anywhere in the universe. Could be level 1 system, could be level 75. I would probably tend to stick to the higher level systems, but again, it's up in the air about how it works. But at least this will just give you an idea of how you can find these ship encounters. Because I didn't actually realize this for quite some time. Okay, so for you PC players out there, if you do want to get the Shroudbearer into your inventory, even though you won't be able to fly it, what you want to do is, when you find it, you want to fly as close as you possibly can to it, basically touching it at least 100 meters, if not closer. You want to be facing it, and you want to click your console. Make sure you click on the ship, and you'll get this GBFM number. Make sure that's selected, and then you want to go TrySetPlayerHomeSpaceShip, and then enter that code in. That's next to the GBFM. I'll put this command into the description. You want to copy and paste it, and then you hit enter. And you want to make sure it says success at the end of the command there. That way you know that it's been added to your inventory. Now it says it's your home ship, but it really isn't your home ship. It will just sit in your inventory. You can register it, you can look at it, but you can't do anything outside that. Now the reason we have to use this command, and there's no other way else, you can't spawn these ships like you would others. You can only do this if you see it in front of you. At least to my knowledge. If there's other ways of doing it, do let me know. But that should get you the Shroudbearer into your inventory. But that will sort of cover it for this video. Thanks so much for watching.